Hey, this is Eric from Catching Light.
Hey, this is Hemp.
Hey, this is Glenn.
Hi, I'm Steve-O.
Hey, this is Drew Hines with Hindsight Imagery.
This is Matt Callahan at Digimatty Photographic Services.
Hey, this is Jason, and welcome to Tales from the Pit. Hello and welcome to Tales from the Pit, the behind-the-lens access for concerts and photography. Today is our very special guest with drummer of Theory of a Deadman, Joey Dandeneau. Joey, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. So to get us started, can you kind of give us a little bit of a history on yourself? How did you get started with music, and sort of give us a background on your drumming and stuff like that?
Yeah, I was 3 years old when I started. I actually didn't believe that to be true growing up, but once I realized that I wanted to do this for, basically it was a hobby for one, but it was like a lifestyle for me. And so, yeah, I had proof. My parents were like, no, look, like here's photos, videos of you when you were 3 years old, smashing on pots and pans and things like that. And for some strange reason, I knew to take a little toy car and prop it up underneath a soup can so that it would give the tom-toms. So
give the angle.
And my dad was like, what? How does he know that? So that was kind of like the start. And they bought me a Fisher-Price drum kit with like little moons and stars on it and stuff when I think I was 4 or 5, my auntie did. And I broke it the first day, and they're like, we probably should get him some real stuff. And so that was the start. And I played every day. I couldn't imagine not playing. It was like breathing to me. It was like I needed to do it. And I got to a point where I was, getting into middle school and then to high school. And I was playing hockey. I was because I'm from Canada, so that's kind of second nature. And then I was playing music, and I started my first band. And when I think I was 15 years old, with all the 4 or 5 guys that all went to school together in a small little town of 5,000 where I lived. And yeah, from there, I knew, I was like, man, I love this. I can't imagine not doing this. Now I got to figure out how to do it for a living. And at 18, so from where I'm from, 18 is legal to be in the bars. Oh, and so I got my first cover band gig at 18 with like the top cover band of the city in Winnipeg, Manitoba, where I'm from. And I got the gig. I got hired on, and I basically worked full time. It was like 365, 12 months a year. We were gigging. I think we took maybe Christmas off. That's about it. And at 18, I'm like, yeah, this is definitely where I want to be. And I did that for a while, basically till I was about 24. And then I got the big call from a friend of mine, Brent Fitz, and he was the drummer at the time for Theory of a Deadman, and he called me and he's like, look, I'm going to play with Alice Cooper. I think you'd be right for the gig. I think this is perfect fit. And I had met Brent through the cover band scene in Winnipeg, as he's from there. He went through the ranks just like I did, at an earlier time, and that's how I got the gig with Theory.
That's really, so first of all, I want to say I love your drumming. Your drumming's killer, by the way. I'm a Theory fan, by the way. I've seen you guys a couple times at least, and I just love your drumming. You're super solid. I love your rhythms, and I love your hi-hat work, all that stuff. So, awesome drummer. Awesome. Yeah. So when you were doing the cover band, were you guys touring just Canada, or how far were you touring out? What was that sort of scene like?
So it was just a Canadian thing, and it wasn't really nationwide. It wasn't Canada wide. It was basically an 8-hour to 10-hour drive east or west. So it wasn't heavy touring by any means, but it was full-time work. And at the time, Winnipeg had an amazing club scene, and cover bands were working every weekend, even during the weeks. So we were busier than heck, and it definitely got my chops up. I mean, it was I learned a lot actually, and that's like I said, that's how I met Brent.
So when it comes to your drumming, when you got started and stuff, was there like certain things that pulled you specifically to drums musically? I mean, obviously it sounded like it was a very natural progression, but was there any sort of musical inspiration that was specific to your, upbringing or anything like that? Like any bands or anything like that?
Certainly. My dad had 9 brothers and sisters. 6 of them growing up formed a family band. They were called the Family Six.
Oh, wow.
And they did covers, and then they had some originals. They were getting fairly popular when they were growing up, and I was just a little tiny kid watching them. And so it was 4 brothers and 2 sisters, and one of the brothers was a drummer. So I used to watch him, religiously, and but I don't know. It wasn't like I tried drums for as a 3-year-old and was like, do I want to try this? Or nobody tried to push me into this. This was just something that came to me so naturally. And I think I just watched my uncle play drums for the first time and went, that's awesome. My brain understood it immediately. It was like beacons going off. Like this is you. This is what you do now.
Yep.
And so, I tried it for the first time, and the rest is history.
It just clicked him instantly. Yeah,
amazing.
totally.
Yeah,
the funny thing is I have a 7-year-old child, and my band practices in the basement downstairs, and we're practicing. And in between, we're like trying to fix a song or something like that. And my boy's got his drum kit like right next to us, and he's nailing away trying to sing the songs too. I'm like, dude, just give us a second so we can kind of fix our song here. So I totally I've seen that from the father's perspective. It's pretty hilarious. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've never been in that position, but I've seen footage of it, and it looks like it looks like you got to be proud of your kid if that's what he's if
totally
he's alongside you. You're like, yeah, that's my kid, right? That's
awesome. He's loving it too. Yeah, totally cool. When it comes to was there certain bands that you grew up listening to?
I didn't actually listen to a lot of bands until I got into like 13, 14, 15 years old. Before that, because my dad was a violin player, and my uncle, my mom's side, was a accordion player. So they, and my mom's side is Ukrainian Polish. So I grew up playing polkas and waltzes right up until I was
no kidding.
That's years old. So that was kind of like how I started. And then I think the first record that I ever bought, I had to bring my mom with me because it had like explicit lyrics on it. And it was White Zombie, Astro Creep 2000, if you remember that record.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And so I heard that record for the first time, and I was like, wow, this is mind blowing. And John Tempesta, the drummer at the time, just like, he basically shaped my direction of where I wanted to go. And that was, I guess, it made sense to me the most to have that play that kind of style. Not play like him, but in go into the rock world as opposed to like a jazz drummer or a swing drummer or something like that. It was I was a rock drummer, and then I got into like 311 and Incubus and Korn and Biscuit and all those bands, and that was kind of like my era in high school. And so that shaped me from kind of what I am today. And a big influence for me was Morgan Rose, actually, from Seven Dust.
Yep.
He was huge. Awesome. He was a huge part of my, actually it's funny. We did some shows with them. I was like starstruck for the first time. I'm like, I can't believe like my idol is in front of me. And the funny thing is we got to a point where they were opening for us, which was bananas. But so I'm on stage. My drum kit is on stage, set up, tarped, and he's in front of me playing on his kit, in front of like a festival crowd, and I'm standing on the side of the stage watching him in awe, and I'm like, this is amazing, and this sucks at the same time because now I got to go on after this guy who's like one of the best in the biz. Like, this is garbage. This sucks. But it was so amazing to watch him. And then he came up and like gave me a hug, and he's like, "Yo, go kill it, man." And he watched me. He came and watched me after, because I talked to him previous to the show. And he's like, I definitely see that I've influenced you. Yeah, I can see that quite well. Yeah, it's a nice job.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
So, yeah, which was great. But then, as the years progressed, I realized that I was influenced, but I was watching myself play in YouTube videos and stuff when people are filming. And I realized I'm like, I want to make sure that I don't rip somebody off. I want to still be unique in a way. And I don't want to just be like him. So, so I started watching Shannon Larkin from Godsmack, and he came and watched me play, and he said the same thing. He's like, when people ask you who you're influenced by, you don't lie. You tell them that it was me. I'm like, I know, I ripped you off too. I'm sorry.
There's nothing wrong with those two guys. Yeah,
compliments, because they could have said nothing, but they're huge compliments. So yeah, and then, so all those guys, they kind of brought me into like where as I am today as a drummer.
Yeah, and they're both, I mean, amazing. I mean, they're both beasts on the drums as well, as yourself too. I mean, those guys are amazing. I just saw Shannon with Godsmack, last year, whatever it was, and they do the drum solo and stuff like that. Just so impressive. Yeah, so that's so awesome, dude. Yeah, totally cool. So when it comes to getting that phone call, they knew you through the local scene, basically, right? Or did you know them, like, because we just talked with Charlie Yangian a couple weeks ago, and about how he got into Five Finger, and it was a YouTube type of thing or whatever. Yeah. So you already had that connection with them from the local scene, is that right?
No, I didn't. Not with the band. I didn't know them at all, actually. Okay. I knew Brent, and so he over the years, he just kind of, him and I clicked. And so he had called and said, I'm going to play with Alice, and these guys are going to be looking for a drummer. I think you'd be right. Are you interested? And I was playing covers at the time. I'm like, yeah, that's a silly question. Of course I'm interested. And, they, at this point, Theory, this is the end of 2007. And so Theory already had 2 records in the books, and in the States, they didn't have the numbers like they had in Canada. The first 2 records in Canada went platinum first, both of them. Right. So they were huge in Canada. So it was kind of like him calling me saying, "Hey, do you want to go try out for Nickelback?" And everybody's like that's how big Theory was in Canada. So it was like, my God, this is ridiculous. I can't believe you're actually calling me for this. So he's like, but the thing is you're going to have to do an audition, because these guys are going to do a cattle call in LA, because they're making their 3rd record now. So I was out of town playing, and first of all, he says, I'll reach out to the guys. I'll let them know that I think that I've got the guy that you're gonna want, but I understand that you guys are going to go through and do an audition process, but I want to throw my buddy into the loop. And they're like, yeah, no problem. That's cool. We trust you, man. So this was back in the times of MySpace. So I'm out of town playing, 4-hour drive out of Winnipeg, playing on a weekend gig. And I get a message from the bass player from Theory, Dean, on MySpace. Hey man, I was talking to Brent. He told me about you. I'm sorry that this is last minute, but it's Saturday. So this was Saturday night. He's like, if you can be in LA by Monday morning, that would be great. We could, we're doing auditions then. I was like, oh, what? I'm like, I'll be there. I'll figure it out. I'll be there. He's like, great. Here's the address. Be here at this time in LA, and you can audition. I'm like, great. So I call my dad between breaks, because there's 3 sets in a cover band night. On the 45-minute break, I call my dad. I'm like, Dad, you gotta help me. I gotta get to LA on Monday morning. And he was like, I got you. Just go play. I'll take care of it. So he calls me. I call him back after the 2nd break, and he's like, okay, I got you the last seat on the flight out of Winnipeg, and which is a small little airport. It's a small city. And so I got to fly to Chicago, and then I got to fly to LA. And he's like, but I got you hooked up. You're good to go. But I couldn't tell my band at the time, because I'm like, they're going to be angry. We're a working band. So I play that night. Leave the first morning, Sunday morning, we go back to Winnipeg, 4 hours. I get home in the afternoon, and I start learning the songs, because they're like, yeah, here's 3 songs, you got to learn them. I'm like, of course. And so Brent had told me, you got to sing. you gotta learn how to sing. Can you sing? I'm like, nah, I don't know. I don't know how to sing. He's like, well, you're gonna need to, because they need a singing drummer. I was like, holy moly. So he's like, just figure it out. Just, I believe in you. You'll do it. Just figure it out. So I went home. I learned the drum parts that night, Sunday night. Monday morning, I had to be at the airport at 2 a.m., get on a plane. And I was listening to all the harmonies, and I was like kind of singing in the middle of the night on the flight over. I'm sure the guy next to me was so angry, but I didn't care. So we fly over to LA. I learn the vocal parts and the harmonies on the flight there. I check into this motel, and then I brought and this is I was 25 years old.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'd never really been anywhere before. This was just like life changing. So I get to LA. It's like, when somebody gets to LA for the very first time, they're just in awe. That was me. And, so I showed up, and of course there was like 20 guys, and they're all pro guys. One guy was like long blonde hair and a big white fur coat, and like walking around like he was and I'm like, oh my God, I'm this 25-year-old kid from the middle of Canada, and I'm like, I'm so out of my league here, but I'm here. So yeah, and so I had to listen to all of them play, and every single one of them was outstanding. Everything was perfect. I'm like, whatever. So I'm the last guy to go in. And I remember Brent was saying, he's like, just make sure if they have the opportunity for you to sing, you do it. He says, because I guarantee you, none of those guys are going to sing. I promise you. So I walk into the rehearsal space. The label was there. The management was there. And it's this jam spot in LA. Drum kit, PA, guitar, all the guys are in there. So I go in, sit behind the kit, set up my click track. And then there was a microphone with a boom stand, and it was facing down towards the floor. So you could see nobody had, tried to sing. And so Tyler, my singer, was like, so do you want to, the first song, Santa Monica, you know how to count us in? I'm like, yep, I got you. And I'm like, but just before we start, I'm like, I noticed you have a microphone here. Do you mind if I do harmonies with you? And it was almost like Tyler's eyes were like a deer in the headlights, like, what? So, he's like, the harmonies? I'm like, yeah, if you don't mind. He's like, I would love that. So I grabbed the mic and kicked into Santa Monica, and we played the whole song. I sang the harmonies as best I could, and they cut me off after 2 songs. And they're like, "Okay, we're done. We're done." And I get back to the hotel. He sent me home. The guy, Barry Squire, the talent agent, who I did not go through, but he was there with all his guys. He calls me and he's like, "All right, look, the band's decided they're going to cut 18 of the 20 tonight, and you're one of the 2 left. So congratulations. Go back home. Then their manager will call you and set up the rest." So I had to fly back home. And then that week they called me and said, you got to go to Vancouver now. So the band, because that's where the band was living at the time. But we're going to pay for your flight. We're going to hook you up with a hotel. They want to get to know you and, do some more jamming. And so that's how it worked. And so I went there, did that. I flew back, and Tyler, they said, well, 2 weeks. We still have one more guy. And I think it was like this drummer from Cheap Trick's son, the son of the drummer.
Oh yeah, okay.
We still got to do audition with him in Vancouver and stuff. So give us 2 weeks, we'll call you back. So yeah, a week later, Tyler called me and he's like, "Hey, it's Tyler from Theory. I just wanted to call you personally. I wanted to just let you know that we really did appreciate you coming down to LA. We really appreciated you coming down to Vancouver. And so I just wanted to let you know that we did pick a guy." And he goes, "I know that it's a week early, but we just we knew that the right guy when we saw him. And I just personally wanted to let you know that if you wanted the gig, it's yours."
Dude,
you're killing me.
I was gonna say, that must have been the longest 2 weeks of your life.
Oh, it was. Oh man, how do you when it's something like I dreamed about this as a kid, like I couldn't imagine not doing that. I wanted this. I would dream about it at night, and when I wake up in the morning, I realized that reality was I still had to go to school, and I was so disappointed and depressed about it because I wasn't in a rock band touring the world and being on tour buses. Like I could taste it, I could feel it. I would literally dream about it. So the fact that I got here, I guess, is not a surprise to me, just based on the fact of like literally the love that I had for this career.
You put it out to the universe and it came back to you.
I think I did. Yeah, I swear it had to have been.
Yeah, totally.
That's awesome story.
How much did you know about the band ahead of time, besides Brent?
I mean, they were big in Canada. I knew all their stuff. I mean, we even covered one of their songs when I was in cover bands. So.
That's awesome.
Cool.
You know, and the funny, you know, I don't know about the funny thing, but me being a musician, I can certainly understand the importance of having vocals in as a musician. I used to sing in a Def Leppard tribute, and everyone in the band has to sing for that sort of thing. So I think, yeah, you know, you stepping up and taking the mic is just so important as a musician. And I would say this to all musicians is learn how to sing. I mean, play your instrument the best you can, but also have that vocal as a backup, just from my experience as well. So that is super cool, dude. I mean, you're an insane, awesome drummer anyway. So regardless of vocals, I think that's awesome. But yeah, I just hear that a lot about not enough musicians actually learn how to sing. So very cool. Very cool.
Are you comfortable now with singing?
Pardon me?
Are you comfortable now with the singing?
Yeah, totally. I think I've gotten better over the years.
Yeah.
I've had people say like, "Hey, you should try and like lead like a side project or something, like be a singer." I'm like, no, believe me when I say being a lead front vocalist and a harmonizer are very different worlds.
Yeah,
totally.
You don't have to have an amazing voice to harmonize. But when you're leading and you're the front, you really do. And I'll be the first to admit, I don't have that pleasant, deep, beautiful voice or anything like that. It's just not there. Like Tyler, my singer, does. He's very unique sounding, and it's very silky and big and, you know, and awesome. And he's got a lot of control, and I think he's a fantastic singer.
Yeah.
I could never do that, so I'm not gonna do it. But yeah, harmonizing for sure. I've learned a lot, and just, you know, being on the bus every day with him and us talking back and forth about singing and warming up properly, and you know, he taught me a lot. So
that's super cool. Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, his voice is fantastic too. I love his voice.
Yeah.
When it comes to, so you get that gig, you get the phone call, you do the audition, and then Tyler calls you and says, "Welcome," whatever. What is the next phase? Do you instantly pack up everything and move, or I mean, is there a time period, or do you immediately go on tour? What happens after that phone call?
They gave me 2 weeks to learn 3 records, and then said be in Vancouver in 2 weeks for rehearsals. I'm like, okay.
Will do.
So you go on tour. So you get ready to go on tour. Do you get like a whole new drum set? How does that work for your kit? Because I assume you probably now have the chance or opportunity, sponsor wise, whatever, to start upgrading or whatever. What happens with that?
Yeah, I had a kit that I was doing the cover scene with. It was a custom made kit. A guy out of Saskatchewan made me it out of it. Like he built like boutique high end drums.
Yep.
And he gave me like a signature model, and he put my signature on the plaque on the drum and stuff. So that's what I was using. And I started touring. I just bought real cases for touring and threw those suckers in there, and away we went. And I mean, pretty soon after that is when D-Drum was knocking down my door like, "Hey, we'd love to have you on board." You know, they sent me a kit at home to try, and they're like, this is just going to be your kit for your house, just to practice on. But what if you like that, we'll do better. We'll give you something a little nicer than that for touring, and whatever you want. We'd love to have you aboard. And so right away, I joined with D-Drum right out of the gate, and then like Sabian was right there for cymbals, and ProMark was there for sticks, and and then eventually along the line, I got Remo for drum heads. And so, yeah, it didn't take long though.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, I expect if you're going to be banging on those things every day and they're hitting the road, they're going to get beat up pretty quick. So you probably have to have, really good, durable stuff. I don't know what it's prior to the band, how durable versus being on the road, stuff like that. So I don't know how that changes once you start getting the big league touring type of stuff.
Well, the kit that I have, and I've been using D-Drum forever, but they gave me all their USA custom stuff, which is just amazing. They're so good. Yeah. And they're built right here in the States. And so but I have a drum tech, and he, they take care of my stuff. Like these guys are pros. They know what they're doing. And And whenever something breaks or something fails, that the company, you just send a call or send an email, and they got stuff in the mail right away for you. Or my drum tech keeps a nice supply of parts and stuff if things go down. So, and that's kind of how it works when you're touring, because you can't just jump over to the store real quick, and know that they have what you need. And my kit is custom, everything's custom, so. You got to have the company involved so they can send you, the stuff that you really need, because a lot of stores just don't stock everything that you need.
Right. Yeah. So you start touring with the band. How long was that first tour for you?
2.5 years.
Wow.
I mean, not like.
Yeah. Right.
But so the record, the third record, Scars and Souvenirs, came out in 2008, April 1st.
Yep.
And we released So Happy for the first single, and we were already doing shows at that point. And then the record came out, and So Happy went to #1 on active, like right out of the gate, and we're like, holy cow. And then we released Bad Girlfriend, and that was just like poof,
it exploded.
And we just watched like venues where like we were getting, like in the middle of tours, we were getting venues being upgraded to bigger venues, because they were like, these guys are selling like crazy. We need bigger, more people are coming. So we started upgrading into like big theaters and stuff. And we're like, holy cow, this is crazy. And then we released Not Meant to Be, went to like a Hot AC, and that like went top 5 on alternative, and that was massive. And then we released Hate My Life. So it just kept going and going. The record was just like, we were like on a whirlwind of just like, holy cow. And then we went out with Motley Crue for 4 months, and it was like, that was insane. We did the Saints of Los Angeles tour with them, and it was with Hinder as well. And then after that tour, Niki Sixx called us, and he's like, we're going out with Crue Fest 2. You guys got to be on it. Third from last, you got to be on it. Because saw our numbers, they saw what we were doing at that point. We were like, yeah, let's go. So we went and did Crue Fest 2 with Godsmack and them, and man, that was just, it was just like, it just took forever. And so it was like 2.5 months on a run, and then we go home for a week, and then they're like, got to go back out, and another 2 months, and then come home for a week, and then got to go back out. And then it took 2.5 years to do that record cycle. We got home, we were just like sideways. We couldn't even breathe anymore. We were so tired, but it was like, I'll never forget it. Yeah,
that's an amazing group of bands to tour with, let alone that you guys are just blowing up so crazy at the same time. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Was that album already done when you joined the band, or were you part of the writing process for that?
I wish I was. I wasn't. It was recorded before I got there. It was being mixed when I was auditioning.
Oh, okay.
And so that's why they were in LA, because they were just there. They had just finished doing all the tracking stuff, and then we're going to mix. And so like, well, we'll just do the auditions here in LA, because that's where most of the drummers are anyway. And then when we figure that out, then we'll go back home to Vancouver and prep for the record release.
So obviously they give you the mix right away, saying, all right, start learning these songs.
Once it got mixed, they sent it to me immediately. That's why I was like 2 weeks. I had to learn the first record, second record, and that record. And then they're like, well, now we got to, come here in 2 weeks so we can rehearse it, and let's get going, because we don't have time. Like, it's time to go. Like, holy cow. So change life is just like everything just and just like change of direction.
So you go from, now you're living on the bus, basically. Your whole life is different now, immediately, overnight, basically. What was that like? Because I assume, being in cover bands as well, you're driving in a van to a venue and driving all night back home or whatever. What's that transition like?
Well, the cargo van that we had in the last cover band I was in, we didn't have a trailer for our gear. So we had a cargo van that we loaded our gear in the back, and my singer, it was a cargo van. So it's just, there's no back seats. So my singer got, the back bench seat out of his parents' minivan and, built a flat piece of wood with 2x4s in front and back. And we just placed it on the wood, and then if it slid, it would hit the 2x4s front and back, and that's where we'd sit in the back, and then there's no windows or anything, and we drive 8-10 hours across the next province to play over the weekend, and and all of a sudden the next tour, I would do the 2-week auditions in Vancouver, and then we got on a tour bus, and I got my own, and it's got a slide out. I got my own bed. I don't even understand this. I was like, I hit the jackpot essentially. And so I had to get used to that. And I'd actually sleep at night, when we're driving, and we weren't like 4 guys, shoulders and, legs and so it was unbelievable. We'd get out of the bus in the morning and there'd be fans at the venue, and they're like, I'm not used to that. People didn't give a crap that you're there. When you're in a cover band, they're there to drink and party with their friends, and they dance on the dance floor when you're playing. But other than that, they could care less about who you are. Right. All of a sudden, I get off the tour bus in the morning, and there's fans out there calling my name. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, they're trying to maybe hurt me. Like, what's wrong? And they're like, no, we want to meet you. We want your autograph. Like, you're the new guy. And I'm like, that I didn't understand that. I'm like, why do you want my autograph? Why do you want to, so that was a huge transition for me. And then as I started to get used to it, that's when it hit me, and I went, okay, I understand now why people say don't lose your roots. Like, always remember where you're from, because it's easy to, when people are always wanting to say hello and, tell you their story about how your music has helped them or things like that. It's easy for it to go to your head. And that was one thing. I'm like, I will never, ever, ever let that happen to me, because, I've met some people, in passing that kind of let that happen. And it was not a pretty sight. I didn't respect them for that. And I swore to everything that I would never let that happen. And, but I think it's just, it's not hard to do. I think, I grew up really well. My parents, did all the right things, and I got a good moral compass. So I take it as a compliment when people come to say hi, and it makes me feel amazing when they say that our music has helped them. There's nothing better than that. It's like a natural high without any kind of drugs or alcohol. It's awesome.
What was your parents' reaction when you told them?
They were over the moon, actually, because they knew that this is what I wanted to do so much. I mean, I hated school. I didn't, I found school, I didn't learn that way, how they, I was bad, and I didn't care. I didn't want to be there. I just wanted to be on stage playing drums. So they knew that I was going to do well with this, but they were so proud. I mean, I've lost my dad since, but I'll never forget that day when he was just in, like, you could just see it, because he was a touring musician, right? So yeah, he never got to that point to where I am. So I think, he was proud to see that, his son took his role and kept going with it. So it was pretty awesome.
It's so cool that they have that music background, so they understand the reality and the passion and the, just the influence and all that stuff. So I'm assuming that would be the case. I mean, that's sort of my similar background as well. So that just makes a huge difference when you have parents that really understand the music part of things and stuff like that, and your passion and stuff. That's really cool. Yeah,
they would give me that opportunity to practice, and they never pushed me to do it. They never had to, because I wanted to do it.
Right. Yeah.
So I would ask them, can you guys leave the house for a couple hours so I can play? It's loud. So they'd be like, yeah, we'll go to a, so-and-so's house. And they'd come back, and I was in the basement of the house. And then when they come home, they'd flick the lights on and off, like, hey, we're home, stop.
You're a good kid, because my son plays guitar, and he'll start cranking out at 11 at night.
Oh,
yeah. He's just like, oh, I forgot you guys are sleeping.
Yeah. Right.
Respectable.
So you jumped in with, the US, so that album hits big in US, you're already in the band. So I'm assuming a lot of people didn't know you were probably new to the band, but I'm sure in Canada there was a lot of, oh, you're now the new guy. Was there any weirdness to you being the new guy from the old guy joining Alice Cooper or anything like that?
Not a bit. Our fans embraced it. It was like the easiest thing. They were just like, awesome. We just love the music. We don't care.
Awesome. That's really cool. Yeah.
And Brent wasn't Brent wasn't a member. He toured for the second record. So they actually had an original drummer from the first record. And so he wasn't like a drummer. He was a singer songwriter, and he could play drums. So when they got signed, that's who they had, and so they started touring with him, and I guess it wasn't the right fit.
Yep.
And so and sadly they hated it because they were friends, but they had to let him go. And so they hired Brent as a hired gun. And so he toured that second record. And then when he got the call to play with Alice, he's like, look, I think this is where you got to step into my shoes here. So yeah, it was pretty good. So I don't know that the fans had, up to 12 years like they have with me to get to know me. They only had about 2 years with Brent.
Yeah, interesting. And we just talked with Ryan Roxy from Alice Cooper, about a month or two ago as well. So I kind of wish I would have talked to him a little bit more. Having all these guests on that actually have connections between band members and stuff like that. It's really, really cool. So yeah, very cool. So Hemper, Glenn, you guys want to ask a few questions before I hog the whole show?
I've got a quick one for you, Joey. Do you know how they got the name of the band? Do you know how that originated?
I do. Yeah. So first record, there was a song called Theory of a Deadman, and the band didn't have a band name at the time. This is just a song title. And when they got signed, the label was like, so you gotta come up with a band name.
Gotta have something in place.
Yeah, I guess we do. So it was the bass player Dean that was, I guess, and I don't know if he was at home or whatever, but he saw the name of that song, and he's like, why don't we name the band that and just rename the song? And I guess Tyler and Dave were like, yeah, that's an awesome idea. That's a great name. Let's do that. So they just renamed the song, and that song is now called The Last Song.
Yep. Cool. Yep. Super cool, man.
Outside of music, Joey, do you have any hobbies that you enjoy doing besides playing on a drum all the time?
Love playing hockey. I'm a hockey buff. I actually, playing high school hockey, I actually got scouted at a high school to play juniors, and that's where I was like, I have to decide whether I'm going to play music or play hockey. Right. And so I chose music, but hockey then became a hobby for me. So I try and play as much as I can, but obviously since things are the way they are now, I'm not. There's tons of players playing here in town where I live, and then I get calls still like, hey, can you come out and we would love to have a fill-in goalie, and I'm like, no, I'm not going. But so hockey's for one, a big one for me. I love to cook, actually. I'm not that good at it, but I still enjoy it. And so I watch, and all like those Food Network shows, they get me, man. I love.
Oh yeah.
So, I learned a lot from them, and actually, it's funny. I got to meet Guy Fieri. His son is a Theory fan, and I got a message from my girlfriend. I was out of town, and she's like, one of my clients, she's a lawyer, one of my clients is Guy's friend, and was wondering if you'd be willing to get the band to do like a video for Hunter, his son, saying congratulations. Sorry, it was his graduation from university, from college. And so I was like, yeah, no problem. So I asked the guys, I'm like, you guys want to do like a little congrats video for Hunter Fieri? And they're like, yeah, sure. And they know how much I dig Guy. I think he's a cool cat. And so we send the video off, and then he comes to Vegas where I live and invites us out to Hunter's graduation party. And it's like a super private party. And we show up to the party, and there's Guy Fieri standing there, and he sees us right away and recognizes me from the video. And he's like, come on, dude, come over here, man. I want to say thanks. I want you to, meet Hunter. And he had rented out a restaurant, and one of the restaurants was from his show, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. So they catered the whole thing. So he's like, come on here, you hungry? Come on. And so and he's the nicest guy. Like when you see him on TV, that's him, Yeah,
that's awesome.
So, it was, that was pretty incredible. So, cooking for me is super hobby. And now that I met him, it just makes me want to, get better at it.
That's cool.
That's super cool.
You and the rest of the band still staying in touch a lot, like daily or?
Not daily. We, because we're not touring, so we don't have a whole lot of business going on, but And you know, my guitar player Dave has two young kids. And his wife's a fourth-year res doctor, so she's working 24-hour shifts, and so he's kind of super dad right now. So I kind of leave him alone because I know he's busy, and Dean is two young girls too. So he's got the family, and so yeah, we don't talk every day, but we certainly keep in touch for sure. Yeah.
So are you liking the downtime or missing the road?
Both, super both. I miss touring. I miss playing, live shows. It's hard to get that high.
Yeah.
From there's not much out there and I'm not a drug user, and I certainly don't drink a lot, so I don't get that high from anywhere else. So I miss that that kind of medicine, from playing live shows and seeing the fans screaming and yelling and singing and just they're so happy, and it's hard to beat that. And so I certainly miss that. I don't miss the 6 a.m. flights, across oceans and stuff for, and traveling. Then you're just exhausted, dead tired. I don't miss that kind of stuff, but that's part of it. But there is still some, actually it's funny. We talked about it as a band. We're like, as funny as it sounds, I kind of miss that, we all were dragging our butts, off a 6 a.m. Lobby call off, and going into the airport, and everybody's dead tired. But there's something about it when you feel like you're accomplishing stuff, and so a lot of that I certainly miss. But I'm trying to learn more things and be productive at home too. And I'm actually learning how to mix audio and learn the more production side of recording and mixing songs. So. And I have a friend here in Vegas who's an amazing engineer, and he works for the Killers and stuff. And so he's been teaching me a lot. So yeah, and so I feel like I miss the road and I miss the shows, but I'm being super productive at home, and I'm getting a chance to do the things that I didn't really get a chance to do before. So yeah, best of both.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, a lot of guys we've talked to have said it's kind of like connecting with the family right now again, and the downtime's good, but they are kind of missing it. The friends on the road and just the.
Oh yeah, and we never go out just us. We always take bands out with us, and you do that for so long. You meet all these cats and become friends, and so when you see each other again, you're like, guys, good to see you. And when you tour, do a 6 or 8 week run with a band, you get to know each other. You have a lot of fun. Yeah. So certainly miss that stuff.
It's kind of like our circle too, photographers as well. We miss it. Thankfully Jason got this together for us, and we kind of all connect this way. Obviously, we're not shooting as much as we would normally like to, but yeah, it's a good camaraderie that we have going on for ourselves as well. So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of this year, you guys dropped your new album. And I believe, if I saw correctly, you were on tour with Hailstorm. Is that right? Or getting ready to?
No, we didn't have any Hailstorm tours. No. Oh,
okay. Sorry. Maybe I may have been looking at the wrong tour, but was there some schedule for this summer or something? Was there something coming up with Hailstorm, or maybe I just
there may have been a couple of shows with them, but there was no touring. Yeah, it might have been some one-offs. So I think actually we were supposed to do some shows with them and Godsmack. It was like a 3.
Oh, okay. Maybe. Yeah, I saw something. So you guys put the album out in end of January. Were you already on the road at that point at the beginning of this year with that album release?
Yeah, we were out in Canada, and we started at like January 30th or something like that.
Yeah.
And we did a run right across west to east in Canada. And it was all when all this COVID was just starting. And I remember flying into Vancouver because that's where we started the tour. And I was in the hotel room watching the Canadian news. And this is when they were like, well, tomorrow is going to be the day where they decide whether it's going to be a national emergency or not. So that's kind of where the tour was starting. I'm like, well, this sucks. But we ended up making it through the whole run. And I flew home March 6th. I'm sorry, I flew home March 1st.
Okay.
And then it was like the 6th, I was like locked down. And I'm like, wow, we just got home in time. And then come to find out that some of our fans had actually gotten the virus.
Oh no.
Whether they were at our show or not getting it, I don't know, but they had it. But because they've reached out and, my social media, and they're like, your music is getting me through this. I'm sick. I'm infected. I'm like, Jesus, I hope, please take care of yourself. This is terrible. It's just a scary time. But we just finished that tour, and then everything got shut down. So luckily we got it done. We didn't get yanked halfway through or something, because I know some bands did.
Yeah, for example, I was supposed to shoot Five Finger in May, because I was working with Jason Hook as doing for some photography stuff, and this is before all the new information came out. But I was supposed to be doing a show with them with Papa Roach or whatever it was, and then they got pushed. They pushed that back to November, and then obviously it got canceled at some point. So our whole summer got wiped out, because we were supposed to be doing all kinds of shows all summer long. And all that stuff, everything just kept getting postponed and then canceled, then postponed, canceled, so on and so forth. So did you guys have like a whole summer's tour already planned out and everything?
Sure did. We had a spring tour and a summer tour. So our spring tour was we were going to take out 10 years. Yeah. And that was going to be I think a 6-week run or something like that. So those the tickets went on sale. It was like selling great, and then not happening. And so, and then we right by then we actually had been confirmed for the Breaking Benjamin summer tour. So it was going to be, that was the whole summer. It was like a 2.5 month or 2.5 months.
Yep.
Run, amphitheaters everywhere. And we were so looking forward to it. And so Ben actually came out and he's like, I'm canceling. we're not going to postpone. I'm canceling. Yeah. And so we postponed our spring tour. And as a matter of fact, that tour is still postponed. It's not canceled. And it's still kind of looking like, I think spring or fall of next year. I can't remember, but it's still going to happen as long as it can, unless it gets pushed back, of course. But I think tickets are still whether they're bought or they're being held, I don't know.
Yeah. There's a lot of that stuff
happening if it's safe.
Yeah, absolutely. So funny thing is, last time I saw you play was at Rise Above in Bangor, which was 2017.
Yeah.
And that was I was backstage for that one. That was an awesome show.
You were there?
I was. I got video. You guys and photos. You guys back there.
He wasn't supposed to be there, but
no, I was supposed to be there. If I remember correctly, that was because Shinedown was the headliner for that Saturday. I believe you guys were on the Saturday show. Yeah. But the funny thing is, I was looking up last time you guys played in Maine. And one of the older shows that came up, I don't know if you were part of, was with Pop Evil. I don't remember what year it was. And there's some video of you guys all doing go-kart racing. I don't remember if it's you or before you doing go-kart racing here in Portland, Maine with the Pop Evil guys or something like that. I just saw some random video of that going on. It probably
was with me. I mean, I've been in the band since 2008, so I'm assuming, and we've known those Pop Evil guys forever. I mean, they were just starting, we've taken them out a million times. We've been.
I just saw them. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, it was probably me that was there. Yeah.
There's some random video of you guys just racing cars here in Maine.
Because usually a lot of times we do that with fans. So radio stations will put that together, and the winners come out and race with the bands. So yeah, we've done that like a ton of times, and I'm pretty certain that we've done some go-karting with Pop Evil for sure.
Yeah. I think now that you mention, I think that I remember there being some sort of radio thing going on. Yeah, absolutely, that's awesome. So do you guys? So when you guys are on tour and well, actually, I don't know if this was one of your guys, Glenn or Hemp. One of your questions about?
Go ahead, Hemp.
Go ahead, Hemp. I'm stealing your question here, bud. On when you're not on, when you have a day off, Joey. When you have a day off and you're on the road, what do you do for your day off?
Not a lot, especially for winter touring. It's just freezing cold everywhere. So don't really go anywhere or do anything. Usually stay in the hotel a lot and get rest, because sometimes I don't sleep well on the bus, if it's a rough road or if it's just, if it's just stuff in your head. You just don't sleep well. So
it beats a cargo van though, doesn't it?
yeah. I'm sounding like I'm a little. What's the word? Diva.
Ungrateful.
So no, but this is and because when you're singing 4 nights a week, 5 nights a week, sometimes your voice gets tired. So a lot of times I'll stay in the hotel room and just not talk much. But it depends on the city. If you're in a really exciting city, a really cool city, you want to go out and see the sights. And especially like overseas, we go, we do a lot of touring in England. London is always a fun town, of course. And then, we do stuff in Germany. That's always fun. You want to go noodle around those days off. Russia, you want to go noodle around on those days off. But yeah, some days where you're just kind of in a town where there's not much going on, you just kind of shut her down and, throw on Netflix and catch up on movies and shows you like, and just rest, really try and hydrate as much as possible. Because at the end of the day, you are working every night. I mean, I get off stage and I'm sweating, right? So I'm blowing through hydration like crazy. So I just, you want to be healthy, and I can't call in sick. I can't be like, I can't come in today. I know I got a flu or a cold. I'm stuffy. No, you sing with a stuffy nose and you sound like a retard and idiot, but you don't have a choice. You show up. And if you're throwing up, you put a bucket next to you and go play, and as long as you're not fainting or dying, in a hospital, you're on stage playing. So, and you don't want to let anybody know you're sick. So you get up there and you just, you put everything you have into it. And it's funny, I've been numerous times, I've been so ill on the road, just flu, I guess. And just dizzy and just awful feeling. And I get on stage and it's like a light switch instantly. And I'm just like, and I behind the kit and just going, and I look at my guitar player and he's looking at me going, I don't know how you're so sick right now. You don't even look, this is awesome. Good for you, man. We get out, and then I get off stage and I collapse on the bus and I go into my bed and I sleep for, 24 hours, but the show must go on. So you just go and you give everything you have. And because at the end, you got to remember, and I have to remind myself too, on days like that, they don't care. Fans don't care. They work hard every day to earn their money, to go see the bands they want to see. They don't want to see an off night. They want to see the band at their peak every night. That's what they work so hard for, and pay the $35 or $40 or whatever the ticket price is. You got to give it to them. You got to deliver. So it's crucial that I, try and rest on those days off, because I want to make sure that I'm at my peak every night.
What would you say some of your favorite venues or places you've been to have been? Obviously, you've traveled the world. Yeah.
I mean, rooms are rooms. I don't know that there's any specific rooms that are amazing. I mean, there's certain ones that are very unique. I wouldn't say that they're acoustically friendly, but certainly unique in a way. The Eagles Ballroom in Wisconsin is in Milwaukee. That's it's haunted. It's deemed haunted and stuff, and it's a crazy venue. It's super creepy, and there's this. It's like right next door to where that crazy murder guy.
Dahmer.
That's it. The hotel. He killed all those people. It's right across the street.
How convenient.
So, there's like unique places like that. It sounds terrible in there. You go in there and you hit a snare drum and it's like pa 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 pa. You're like, I can hear it. It's worse than an arena, but it's still very cool. So there's really cool venues like that you just you'll never forget. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, and an arena is an arena, and a theater is a theater, and a club's a club. But it's all about, it's not so much the rooms, it's about the people in those rooms. And it's about the staff that work in those rooms, the local crew. You get to know these cats after a while because they're always there. That's the stuff that kind of stands out for me.
Cool.
Hey, thanks for watching part 1 of our interview with Theory drummer Joey Dandeneau. You can check out this episode and more on our YouTube page and on talesfromthepit.net. We'll see you next time.